I want to reiterate, we are not going to put our children and staff in a position that's unsafe, and if anything, wanting to make sure that we look at every opportunity to even improve our measures, whether it's a temporary basis or if it's long term. The company that is constructing our portable village, they know that we are at the top of the list. We are a high priority. They sent notification, I guess it was last Monday, and reiterating that they're doing everything within their power to make sure that they try to meet the deadline that we need, but also sort of buffering it with that there's constraints that they fall under as well. And we talked about this last week. If anyone's paying attention to the national news, when you look, whether it's building materials, looking at construction costs, looking at transportation costs, forget the Colonial Pipeline. Right. There was already the discussion as far as a gas shortage, not because there was a shortage of gasoline, but because they did not have the drivers.
Right.
And this is across the country. Well, we don't think about the impact in little old Wilson County, Tennessee. We are part of that food chain, and that I want to remind people that we are working with around and through some constraints that we have no control over. Likewise with this company that we're working with out of Georgia. But I will say, they know how important this is. And I think I received a question this week that, why didn't we make these plans much earlier in the year? Well, part of it was the constraints as far as not having the funding.
Right.
It still goes back to as far as, why didn't you go ahead and demo the buildings? Why didn't you go ahead and start construction? If anyone knows anything about insurance, and I have to remind people, we do not have the funds. We do not sit on a pot of money. We do not control how we even generate funds. That's county commission. But this wasn't a burden on county commission because we did have insurance. And so we had to go through to make sure that everything that we needed was not overlooked. And again,
to sign a leasing document with no fund, with to not exactly what kind of funds that you would have would not have been a good settling feeling.
Exactly, and the urgency being that we knew that we were going to grow. We knew that we were really pushing the limits on our middle school population. What do we have available that we can, at least give temporary relief? And I keep using the word temporary because we're looking at, 1 year, 14 months to 2 years when you look at an elementary middle school. All that to say, if we had had the financial resources, we could have come out probably earlier with a relief measure. But it wasn't available, and it was not something we could go to the taxpayer and say, we need the resources to build this temporary classroom. But what it was bundled into our insurance settlement, and so that's how we proceeded. So it's not something that we were playing with, didn't consider. There was a lot of thought, intentional thought, as far as what are our alternatives, and particularly as far as making sure that we did not continue to overlook as far as our population continuing to grow. Well, soon as we had any inclination that there was going to be a delay, a possible delay, we have to plan as far as a contingency. We have to. If it's something that we're going to potentially be facing with school starting in August, what will we have in place if we need it? The 800 wing at West Wilson Middle School. And that's, immediately a speculation, rumors.
And there's a lot of them out there.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And some people that are not even in Wilson County are also weighing in on it. That building was not damaged by the tornado. Why? I don't know. Thankful that it was not.
And let me understand, this wing is not very old either.
It's a 2012 construction. I mean,
right.
It's a fairly new building. We've had air conditioning going on in that building since last July.
And heating through the cold winter months. Yes.
And in fact, we went ahead and did the clean like we would do for any building as far as to maintain it, keep it up. There's a few windows that are boarded up and everything. Our maintenance and our operations supervisor has been through it. In fact, they've been through it many times.
Right.
But the thing is, with the reassurance that they're pleased that there's been very little damage. And when I say damage, I'm talking about cosmetic. There's things that circulate as far as air quality and what are we going to do about a building that's been sitting empty all this time. Air conditioning and heat has been maintained in this structure since last July.
And speaking along, can you speak to fact or fiction on the fact of the kind of professional traffic that's been through that wing, be it not only the cleaning crews, but engineers? Of course, when our insurance folks came out to do an overall assessment.
They bring their own people.
But engineering-wise, this wing, we would not open this wing if it was not structurally sound and met all the requirements.
And we have to go through fire marshal at the local and state level. And let's go back to the insurance company. There was not even a concern as far as they weren't going to pay us for that building.
Right.
Because they did go through it. They brought their engineers through it. And so the thing is, the building, as a temporary measure, 26 to 27 classrooms, we're talking 3 to 4 weeks, maybe. And it's one less transition because they would just go up the hill when the village is completed. And that's important. We're trying to minimize transitions. If we stayed at Mount Juliet Middle School, you're talking about a backlog that takes particularly the 6th and 7th grade, maintaining the 2 high schools, and then making a shift and everyone moves. You're having to do reassignments in classrooms. And so it really, no one understands the magnitude of it until you're doing the scheduling. And we're trying to minimize that. Going back onto the Stoner Creek property, we're doing all we can do to get that portable village, Bobcat Village, up and running. The question comes up, I think there was a new one, what about storms?
Yeah, and let me stop you right there because that is some safety and storm information will be updated on this running FAQ that we have on Stoner Creek's website, on our website. It's the same thing. So families, please pay attention to that. A lot of your questions are being answered there. So I know you got the same message from our safety director as I did. So don't expect you to go to delve all of the pieces of that. That will be updated today. So I guess what I wanted to say prior to as we went into this is that if anything, I know it can be difficult for families to see from afar, but fact of the matter is Stoner Creek at this point is priority 1.
It is priority 1.
And that's not to say anything about West Wilson Middle not being, it's just that in the pecking order of how things are rolling out and for the transitioning and getting things back online in student placement, Stoner Creek is priority 1 right now.
The one other option that is not agreeable to anyone. We can delay the start of school for Stoner Creek 3 to 4 weeks.
Right.
Why would we do that? Why would we do that? And I've not had one parent say, okay, well let's go that option. We have very few options. And some I'll just say are so absurd that have been offered because we always look to see what's as best we can, the best interests. But safety and security rises to the top on every decision we make. We have to. And it's not even about local scrutiny. We have to make sure that we pass the test with the state. And when you look at even the local requirements, we have to be there. And so it's not a matter of, we're just trying to accommodate and appease. And if anyone knows me any better than after all these years, I don't work to appease because we have to look for the best solution.
Right.
And but I think the latest questions is as far as being in the temporary buildings and what if a storm comes through, and that's always going to be on our mind because of what we've been through. However, up until 3 years ago, we had a number of portable classrooms all around the district, and we were so proud when I think it was Elsie Patton was the last group of portable classrooms that we got rid of them. The construction we are putting in there right now, they're going to withstand severe thunderstorms. Someone also asked, well, what about a tornado shelter? We do not have tornado shelters in any of our schools.
Right.
However, when we look at the structure, particularly the Robinson Gym, it's going to be right, as far as right next to the Bobcat Village. I want to make sure I name it right. We are pleased with that building. Again, it's newer construction as well. Bart, you've shared that video. We watched the tornado come through.
Yeah.
And that building stood.
Yeah.
Again, some cosmetic pieces, but the thing is, we have a shelter to bring students, and we have noticed if there's a cell coming through. I mean, I can't say enough about our in-house safety and security person's supervisor, Steve Spencer. He follows the weather religiously.
We stay in very close contact, and he's on top of things very much so. So, in very close communication with the National Weather Service.
I can't speak for Mr. Luttrell, but he and I are going to be in close, contact throughout the summer.
Yeah.
My last day is the 30th, but I can assure everyone, and as long as Mr. Luttrell, and which he's already had this conversation, I'm not walking out the door. There is too much committed here to when school starts that's just who I am. And
for those behind the scenes look, when I walked in here this morning to do this with Dr. Wright, well, she's sitting here with Mr. Luttrell. They are talking over things, going down from tornado damaged schools to just other items that need to be discussed, and they are in constant communication.
And that's just how we're going to work, and we have that kind of relationship, so that part's good. We will, because of you and the ability to be able to communicate, even though some people say we don't communicate enough, our families, our parents almost know within 24 hours what we know, because that's how we're trying to get information out. And when we know something from Vanguard, when they start getting into that production and things are going to be in transit, they will know. We also, as far as this summer, while we, have the ability and students are not in school, to get all the infrastructure ready and prepared, and that's your sewer, your utilities, all those pieces that we have to have that precedes,
an installation.
The installation of the village. We'll keep people updated. You're so good about whether it's a visual representation or even documenting it. We will keep people aware.
Yes.
And I'll say it one more time. The 800 wing at West Wilson Middle School, that is our contingency plan if we are not up and ready with the village. And again, we're not going to compromise health, safety, or security. Oh, another question that came up. Will we have security like we've always had before? We have an SRO that's assigned to every school, and our high schools have two. Our SRO will still be there. They will, as far as accompany the transition. We will have cameras up.
The cameras are still fully functional and working. There's no repair that is necessary for there, and we have SROs that have eyes on those all the time. So, we
nothing's compromised.
Nothing's compromised, but we certainly are. We sympathize with parents who certainly have a lot of questions and some apprehension about.
I'm gonna do a shout out to, because we don't really emphasize this enough, that we do have an SRO at every campus, every campus. But no one really understands the relationship and good, strong relationship we have with the Mount Juliet Police Department.
Correct.
With the Sheriff's Department for Wilson County, the Lebanon Police Department, Watertown. We have strong relationships. And in fact, it's one that when people will talk, well, why do we see a presence of squad cars at such and such? Everyone assumes that something's happened. Sometimes they're there for lunch.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to Captain Chandler, to Captain Moore, to Captain PJ Hardy, the Watertown Police. They always let us know.
And I've never been in a school district where that kind of relationship occurs. And so I want to put that out there too, that we have a lot of people outside the school district that are part of the family that are also going to contribute to the safety and security of our students.
Lastly, I'll say we're not in danger of a district gas shortage that I know of.
No.
With our buses and things,
let me go ahead and because again, there was the concern when you were looking at the news. I mean, again, not locally, but across the country. Yeah. We had already reached out to our supplier on Monday of this week if there was any concerns and our supplier said not to worry.
Good to go.
We were good to go. And so again, we didn't, publicize that, but what we did do is assurance that our buses would continue to run.
Yeah, I checked with transportation early week, and they said everything looks good. And should that change, should anything change, of course we'll let everyone know. What the situation
they're
is.
hearing things. I mean, several of our counties to the west of us
Yes.
right now are having to shut their transportation systems down. I don't know anything about their suppliers.
Right.
They're struggling, but our supplier, our feed is good.
All right, Dr. Wright, thank you for the chat as always. Have a great weekend. We hope everybody has a great weekend. Be safe, be healthy, enjoy it, and we'll talk to you again.
Come back
soon.
Monday. There's 14 days left.
14 days. Tick tock, tick tock. All right, thank you so much.